People who are interested in the Science of Mind magazine, the daily guides, or maybe just the daily guides, I don't know. I'm just privileged to be able to read this to you every day on behalf of Creative Life Spiritual Center, offer some commentary, and who knows, and also bring you up to date with what's going on in our world here. Today's reading is about curiosity. I don't know about you, but I think all my life I've been curious about things. I know when I watch the cats at play, they're very curious. In fact, there's an old saying you've probably heard of, curiosity killed the cat. But curiosity also is a really great tool. And that's what Reverend Ryan is talking about today. However, before that, John Burroughs, who was an American author, he was an essayist, a writer. He wrote in the style of Henry David Thoreau, apparently. I didn't know about him before I read this. John Burroughs, I'm sure if you grew up in America, you probably did, and he's been gone for, well, a long time, well over a century. So anyway, he said, joy in the universe and keen curiosity about it all, that has been my religion. That sounds a bit like Thoreau, yeah? Joy in the universe and keen curiosity about it all, that has been my religion. And from Ernest Holmes in Creative Mind and Success, excuse me, I should not be tired. There is something that waits only for our recognition to spring into being, bringing with it all the power in the universe. Now, a little bit more about that later on. And that, as I said, is from Creative Mind and Success, and it's on page 31, paragraph 3. And this is what Reverend Ryan says. I've had the good fortune to rub elbows with some pretty powerful spiritual individuals. Some are prayer powerhouses. Some can rock a meditation like nobody's business. And some are such great orators of spiritual wisdom that they will make your head spin. As I bask in their presence, I find myself led to ask, what is my spiritual superpower? What is my edge of excellence? What is the thing moving me forward on this journey? Reverend Ryan continues. Recently, the answer came to me in a loud, thundering voice. Okay, that might be a slight exaggeration. And what I heard rising up within me is the power of curiosity. I would assert that curiosity is one of the most important spiritual practices we can engage in on a daily basis. Curiosity creates space for life to get in and space for us to show up in new and powerful ways. When things arise that activate a reaction or a thought, Reverend Ryan says, my daily practice is to ask myself, quote, what's this all about? Unquote. And 9 times out of 10, the answer reveals some deeply buried space of belief or assumption from which I was operating. When we become curious about the things that live beneath the surface, we create little cracks where the light of truth can stream in. Then, from this divine stream, we create new ways of living, moving, and of showing up in the world. Curiosity really is a superpower, and when engaged with, it will literally transform our world. What do I say? Well, first of all, I don't know about you, but as I said, I've always been curious. I've always asked a lot of questions. In fact, when I was young, pretty small, I was always asking questions. Oh, excuse me. I have no idea why I'm yawning. Because I had a good night's sleep. I got up at a reasonable hour. I got to relax a bit this morning because my mediation was this afternoon. The mediation was successful. People went away with a signed mediated settlement agreement, and it did not rain too much on me on the way down here. A lot of thunder and lightning, but Nothing touched me. It was fine. It is raining somewhat outside, but it's not torrential rain, so everything's pretty good, actually. And why am I wondering? Anyway, going back, I've always been curious. I think human beings, by instinct, are curious people. If we hadn't been curious, we would never have found religion in the first place, because we would never have wondered how everything came into existence. We wouldn't have created fire, wouldn't have learned how to build things. We'd have just lived in caves and hunted and picked berries, and that would have been the end of it. But people were curious about how things worked. People always have been. I remember one of my cousins his father was a mechanic, and actually his father owned a mechanic shop and a garage, all the rest of it. And he ended up working for his dad. I think he ended up taking over the business, he and his brother. But anyway, but he was always curious about how things worked. And I remember one time he was staying with a mutual relative, and he was pretty small, and this relative, he called her aunt. I don't know if she really was his aunt, but he was related to her, as was I. And she was wondering why he was so quiet. She thought, this is just too good to be true. Well, she went in the room he was in, and he had completely taken apart her vacuum cleaner. Problem was, he didn't know how to put it back together again. But going back on a more serious note, I don't think any of us who are interested in spirituality, religion, if you like, and new thought in particular, but it doesn't have to be new thought, I don't think any of us will be really engaged in this if we weren't curious about life, if we weren't always looking for answers to things. You know, it's pretty easy just to live life without being curious, but when you're curious, it does mean that your mind's working. And also, as Reverend Rains pointed out, when you're curious in a spiritual direction, that's when you grow spiritually. And Reverend Rain is saying here that this loud, thundering voice within her turned out to be curiosity. She said it wasn't really loud and thundering. It's when we start exploring to get new ideas. And I think that's what keeps the human race going and at least moving in some direction. Is it a good direction or not a good direction? I don't know. How will AI affect all this? Will we still be curious when you can just go on and you can just generate anything you want? You know, to produce a Sunday talk, to produce speeches and talks at Toastmasters like I do, to teach world religions and so on and so forth, and a lot of other things in my life, I have to do a lot of research. But is AI going to change all that? Is it going to make me less curious? And in fact, ironically, I was just thinking about this right now. Before I come on every day, I usually look up a little bit about who the first quote is from, or from whom the first quote is taken. Because I'm curious. I'm really curious. Why did they pick this person? What did this person do if I don't know anything about them? Unless it's like yesterday, Leonard Cohen, and obviously I know about Leonard Cohen. But when it's somebody today, like John Burroughs, and I probably should have known about him, but I didn't, I go up and look him up. And guess what? I find something new, and I often find a new way of looking at life and the world. Therefore, when it's moved in a spiritual direction, it not only helps us just by its very nature, it helps other people. It helps the planet. It just helps evolution move along, right? I don't really have a whole lot else to say. I don't have anything from Ernest Holmes' Science of Mind today, but I will tomorrow. And I'm not quite sure when our little doggy story happens. I think it's in the first of the bi-monthly magazines joined together. If it is, I've got to reach it. You know, the ironic thing is this, that with the print copy of the magazine, you get both months in one. However, if you go online, you just get 1 month at a time, which means if I want to read anything about next month, I have to go get my wife's physical copy and come back and do that. Well, Enough of that. The affirmation: I approach life with curiosity and openness. I approach life with curiosity and openness. Could you have a much better affirmation than that? I don't think so. All affirmations are good. This one's good. So try it out. Tomorrow morning, Reverend Lisa will be on at 9 o'clock-ish Central Time, USA, Canada, Mexico. I'll be back tomorrow, I think 5 o'clock. I don't think I have any business meetings tomorrow, so 5-ish should work for me. And if you're in places where the weather is really not working in your favor, then just take care. And also look around for people, pets, and animals that might also be in need of help, because in this kind of weather, you never know who gets stranded and who needs help. And everybody sometimes could do with a helping hand. So until next time, I just simply want to say, namaste.